Okay, so we have here 1/3 plus 3/8. Now you can't add two fractions together unless the denominators are the same. Remember, that's the common denominator. So what we have to do is we have to change both fractions so that they have the same common denominator. So what we do, we're going to start with the fraction that has the denominator that's bigger, right? Because 8 is bigger than this 3, so we're going to start skip counting by that denominator. So we're going to start skip counting by 8. And I'm going to write it up here so that way we have room to do all the rest of our work. So 8, 16, and each time, every single time that we skip count by our numbers, we're going to see if the other denominator can go into that number we're skip counting by. So can 3 go into 8? No, of course not. So we keep going. So we go to 16. Can 3 go into 16? No, of course not. So we keep going. So 8, 16, 24. And again, we stop and we see, can 3 go into 24? And yes, the answer is yes, 3 can go into 24. So this is our common denominator. Now, to make sure that we don't mess this part up, we're going to do all of this right here. I'm going to write equal sign, and a fraction line, and a fraction line, and our common denominator under both. Okay? See, now both of our denominators are the same. They're both 24. And now all we have to do is we have to figure out the numerator for this fraction and the numerator for this fraction. Alright? So let's start with the top one. Okay, so 3 1/3 equals something over 24. As soon as we figure this part out, the rest is easy. So we've got to figure out 3 times what number equals 24, or 3 goes into 24 how many times? Well, since we know our times tables, we know that 3 times 8 equals 24. So I'm going to write times 8. Now there's this rule called whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So since I wrote times 8 here on this fraction, I'm going to write times 8 here on the top part of the fraction, okay? Because 3 times 8 is 24, so now I'm going to do 1 times 8 equals whatever this numerator is going to be. So 1 times 8 equals 8, so that means 1/3 equals 8 over 24. Now if you're not sure if you did it right or not, you can always check by reducing, okay? So we're going to take this fraction. We're going to step away from this problem for a minute, and we're just going to take this fraction to make sure that we did it right and to make sure that 8 over 24 really does equal 1 over 3. So I can take 8 over 24 and I can reduce that. 8 over 24, and I'm going to reduce that, okay? So I don't know what number can go. No, what I want to say is I don't necessarily know how to reduce this, except I know that both are even numbers. So right away I know, since both are even numbers, I can divide by 2, right? So if I reduce by 2, I'm going to get what? 4 over 12, right? Now right away I can go to 1 over 3 because I know that 4 goes into 12 3 times, but we're not going to do that just because I want to make sure that we're definitely doing this right and that we're not rushing. So 4 over 12. We know that 4 is an even number and 12 is an even number again, right? So again, if we want, we can divide by 2. We can reduce by 2. So I'm going to reduce 4 over 12 by 2. So that would be 2 over 6. And then again, I have 2 even numbers. So I'm going to reduce by 2 again, and I get 1 over 3. And now I know that I can't reduce that anymore. And so I know that 8 over 24 equals 1 over 3. It also equals these other 2 fractions, but we're not going to worry about those for now. All we wanted to do was make sure that the fraction we came up with, this one right here, we wanted to make sure that this came out to equal 1 over 3. Okay? Great. So now we're going to go to the bottom fraction, 3 over 8. 3 over 8 equals what over 24? So we're going to do the same process. We're not going to use the same numbers, but we're going to do the same process that we did up here. We're going to find 8 times what number equals 24. Okay? So we know through division or through multiplying that 8 times 3 equals 24. Right? Easy enough. And remember, whatever I do to the bottom part of the fraction, I do to the top part. So since I wrote times 3 here, I'm going to write times 3 up here. Okay? Times 3. Notice, whatever times number I put down here, the times number up here is going to be the same thing. Times 3 times 3. If I had, let's say I messed up and I wrote times, I don't know, let's say I thought it was 8 times 6. Let's say I thought 8 times 6 is 24, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's times 6, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, 3 times 6. And I'm like, oh, no, wait, that's wrong. And I realized, no, it really is 8 times 3. I cannot just change the bottom number. Right now I have 3 times 6 and 8 times 3. Are these two numbers, this one and this one, the same? No, not at all. So that's not going to work. That's not going to come out to the right fraction. So make sure that the times number on bottom is the same as the times number on top. Okay? They've got to be the same or this will not work. It means you're doing it wrong. Okay, so we know 8 times 3 is 24. And then we do 3 times 3, which is 9. Right? Now that our fractions have the same denominator, all I have to do is add up the numerators. 8 plus 9. So if I add up the numerator, 8 plus 9, I know that, again, my common denominator, even my answer, is going to have the same denominator. All I have to do is add up the numerators. 8 plus 9 is 17. So my answer is 17 over 24. Whee! Let's put a little smiley face, because we're done. Got it? If you didn't, that's why this is on video. You can always pause, rewind, go back, skip parts you already understand, although I would suggest you watch it again anyway just for practice. But that's why this video is here, so that if you ever get stuck, all you have to do is come back to it and you can rewind it and go back or pause and rewatch it over and over until this really sinks in. Okay, good luck.